Hey everyone, I'm so excited today to be here with none other than Dimyena, who is actually a founding member of the Hotel Florist Profit Method. She is an event florist and a prop designer for 16 years, doing her own weddings and freelancing for many large event companies. Now, in early 2020, yes, that's pre-pandemic, she and her husband bought another floral company, which came with an extensive customer list and house of accounts. That has helped them understand the value of hotel contracts as well as recurring revenue. Dimyena, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I just have so much admiration for the amount of courage that I'm sure it has taken the past year with a new business, especially during the global pandemic that we just had. What would you say has been one of the biggest lessons that you have learned just over the past year with this new business?
The biggest lesson from my husband and I is definitely the importance of reoccurring revenue, and having that foundation for your business, because had there not been that foundation, there would be no business today. And hotels is really kind of where you go to for that security and that foundation for a floral business.
Wow. I mean, chills because I can completely relate. But for the people that are listening right now, step us through a little bit, flash forward before owning this business. Kind of what did life look like for you? Then you found this business. Why did you decide to buy this business? And what do you do kind of day to day that wouldn't have survived without this consistent income from the hotel accounts?
So before we bought this company, I was solely event based. And so income was very sporadic. Some months were just, very amazing. And then there would be just dry periods. Um, and so it was very unstable. You never knew what was coming. You never knew if you wanted to invest in something like a new warehouse or new equipment, because you just never knew, how stable it was going to be moving forward. You never knew if you had to sit on your funds because it was going to be feast or famine. um, and so when we came across this particular company that we found out was for sale, um, my let me let me backtrack a little. So my husband had always been pointing out that being event based was bad news, because it was not reoccurring revenue. It was not steady income. He always said you need to have your foundation, your reoccurring revenue, and then you do your events on top of that. And so when we found this company for sale, it just so happened to come with the contract of a 5-star hotel resort that my husband and I were very, very big patrons of. And so my husband said, this is the reoccurring revenue we want. And so we negotiated for 4 months, and then we finally landed the contract, bought the company. And then 3 weeks later, the pandemic hit.
Good times.
So for those 3 weeks, it was great. Very, very stable income. But even moving forward, the hotels, even though they were at limited capacity, they still wanted to maintain their reputation, the ambiance, everything. And so they continued to move forward with their florals, even if it was dialed back a little bit through the pandemic. And so that allowed us to keep our doors open, to know that every month we were going to pay our bills. Every month, all expenses were going to be covered. And while a lot of florists were closing their doors, we were actually thriving compared to what was going on in the world.
I love that. I love that you mentioned that because so many people are very quick to say, like, oh, but the hospitality industry crashed, or, nobody was safe from the pandemic and safe from losing business. And while that is true, and while hotels definitely took a hit, and some hotels did close, I know one of our hotel clients, they did close their doors for a few months. Majority of them, like you said, stayed open. They had to keep up the show. They had to be still open and available for the few guests that were traveling, that still had a level of expectation of this hotel and what to expect when they're on property. And that actually, for me, myself included, like saved my business. I didn't have to worry about how I was going to pay bills, even though our scope might have reduced for a certain time period. I knew that I could still cover my expenses. I could still create. I think there's a lot that goes with that as well, especially as business owners. Just going from 60 to 0 is very hard mentally. So still having a client that you still need to show up for every week in whatever capacity, I think is very good for morale as well. Absolutely. So I love that you brought that up. And what would you say now you've gained as like the biggest strength, maybe like something that you've now been able to put in your tool belt for 2021 from that experience?
I think it is my level of commitment to those hotel contracts, and also their level of commitment to me, because through it, I think we were supporting each other. Mm-hmm. And for them to see that we were 100% on board, and there was no world pandemic that was going to cause us to sway in our service or quality, whatnot. It's actually made our relationships much stronger with the hotel now. And I think also too, again, my husband was very big on reoccurring revenue, but I think now we've also restructured our entire business model to solely reoccurring revenue, with possibly some cherry on tops being events.
Yes. And that's the best way to do it. I mean, I remember I would have a clipboard on my wall, and whatever your annual sales goal was, let's say it was, I don't know, $500,000 wall. So it would be 500,000. We somehow would have to find that from all our corporate clients. And it's like, okay, so if we only want to take on 10 clients, then each client has to spend $50,000 a year with us. Okay, so how much is that per month? How much is that per week? Great. Mm-hmm. Who would have that budget? And you just start picking up the phone, only approaching those clients. And then if events come in on top of that, if a wedding inquiry comes in on top of that, and you actually want to take it, then great, they can go on the wall too. And that's just an extra bonus.
Exactly.
I love that. Oh, it makes me so excited to hear that. Now, Dimyena, explain to whoever's listening how you actually found me. Like, how did I know we started with a phone call, but I actually don't know how you found me.
I used to have a mentor in the event industry. And so when this hotel contract came up that we had acquired, and immediately jumping into it, I knew nothing about hotel contracts. And I recognized that I knew nothing about hotel contracts. I knew nothing about relationships with the hotels. And so I just thought, well, there has to be a mentor for hotel flowers. And I just started combing the internet like crazy. And then that's how I came across the Hotel Florist. It was literally the hotelflorist.com. So it just seemed to spell out everything I was looking for. So,
and I remember we got on the call because you had this new client, and we were on the call for about an hour. Mm-hmm. And that was before I even had the course. I was just starting to work on the course. And I remember you being like, I think you were like, can I call you if I have any other questions? And I was like, yeah, I'm working on a course. And here we are today.
Yep. I said, great. That's exactly what I need.
So when we launched the Hotel Florist Profit Method, Dimyena was actually the very first person that signed up. And so I will be forever grateful for your investment of time and money into this. What do you feel like have been the biggest attributes of the course thus far that you've been able to walk away with?
Confidence, absolutely, hands down, because I think before dealing with the hotel for the first time, I think they could tell that I was a little green. I didn't exactly know what I was saying. Not that I was stumbling and saying the wrong things, but I didn't have much to say because I didn't have much knowledge. And so the course kind of gave me the confidence to be able to actually have a dialogue with them and know what to say and know what they want to hear and be confident what I'm saying to them, and knowing that you're saying the correct things and you're not taking a stab in the dark, hoping that, it's going to stick.
Absolutely. And even simple things like verbiage or knowing who to talk to or how to talk to them or how to refer to things, or also knowing what are deal breakers, what could be possible things to negotiate, all give you this level of confidence when approaching these hotel clients, because you're actually speaking their language. So
Yes,
automatically puts you on an equal playing field.
exactly.
Now, I know when you came into the course, very soon after you landed another hotel contract. And that's
Hmm.
something that we have been working on back and forth. And I know that I always want to keep this podcast, these resources, as transparent as possible. For you, it has been a bit of a struggle, but I know that you are walking away with a lesson that you have learned that is going to help you in the future. Do you want to share a little bit about your journey so far, navigating these seas, being part of the Hotel Florist Profit Method, and like kind of the ups and the downs of it and what you are ultimately walking away with?
Absolutely. So we had to go through the bidding process where we were put against two other florists, and they were vetting out all florists. All had to submit bids with corresponding pricing, um, product description, et cetera, a detailed list of services that we offer as a hotel florist. And we were awarded the contract. Um, and so we just had an agreement with them that we were their hotel florist. And then the second shutdown had hit immediately after. And so they postponed the opening of this hotel by about 5 months. Yeah, 5 months. And so then come just about a month ago, we get a call, from the hotel staff saying that they're back on staff and they're going to open in a month, and that, you know, we're basically everybody's on fast forward. We need to work fast and hard to get this hotel floral, the botanicals and the florals all designed and installed before the opening. And that in itself should have been a red flag, because it takes a hot minute to design an
Mm.
entire hotel. Um, but we knew that the crunch wasn't their fault, and so we were willing to, as a committed partner, because it is a partnership, we were willing to see it through and, work hard to get this opening, to happen with beautiful florals and beautiful botanical. So we started, grinding out, doing their sample designs for them, designing all the different locations in the hotel, what the florals were going to look like. All the meanwhile saying, could you please send back our final contract? Because at that point, even though we had an agreement in writing that we were the hotel florist, our actual contract with our terms had not been signed yet.
Mm.
Outlining payment terms, just the nitty gritty, the details. And so we, while we were working under good faith at that point. And so we had, like I said, we had built the samples for them. We had dropped off the samples at the hotel so that everybody knows exactly what it looks like in which area, so that we can make sure that it's the right fit for the hotel. And basically, after we did all that, we handed them their invoice and their jaw dropped on the floor. And they said, oh, we didn't know the product was going to cost this much. Even though we had asked them we had given them exactly what they had asked for. But at the end of the day, hotels, they just don't know what flowers cost and
No, that's our
you
job.
really, have to guide them, and you
Yes.
have to almost teach them,
You
as
have to
they're,
educate them. I always
yes,
say
you have
it's
to
always a learning
educate.
opportunity.
Yes, you really have to educate them. So at that point, the GM kind of backpedaled, and he said, I can't write checks for these without comparable bids. And yeah.
So nobody can see this if you're listening to the podcast, but like my eyes just basically bulged out of my head, because you haven't agreed. You already bid. You already won the bidding.
Exactly. And we said that to him. We said, we've already gone to bid. We've already bid against two other florists. We've gone through this process. You've awarded us the contract. And he said basically to us, times have changed.
Wow.
Without much explanation. And we know that there, you know, that pandemic, there were global pandemics, et cetera, et cetera. But it was very disheartening to hear. And so for the past 2 weeks, we learned the hard way that they actually took our exact designs and sent them out to other florists. They took pictures of our designs and sent them out to other florists and said, what would you charge for these pieces? And
Yeah, and
so,
it's very, very disheartening that they do this, and that's why it's so imperative to. I mean, for you, you had good faith, you had a signed document saying that you're going to be the florist. Unfortunately, these people don't own their own business. They are literally trying to climb up the corporate ladder, trying to save the most money, trying to make sure ownership has the most money at the end of the day at their bottom line. And so it's up to
mhm,
us as business owners to protect our assets. And part of our assets are digital assets. There are photos, there are CAD drawings, there are actual designs. And
yeah,
so I'm so sorry this has happened. But like you said, like anyone listening, like protect yourself. That is key.
exactly. So there were two big takeaways. So in the end, before they did have a chance. They did send our designs out to other florists. We learned that other florists did bid against us and undercut us by almost half. Um, and before they even had a chance, and even till this day, the opening is in 1 week, they still haven't made a decision who the florist is going to be. But we recently made a decision that, while we are there to support them and do everything we can to make their lives easier, and that's something that I learned from you. Um, it's also a partnership that there needs to be mutual respect each way. And if a hotel's not going to do that, it's not a hotel contract that you. So in the end, we just realized that as lucrative as this contract could have been, they weren't the partners for us. And so before they even decided which of the florists they were going to choose after going out to bid, we just politely declined and said that this was not the right situation for us.
Yeah. And I know that that was a very difficult decision, especially coming from the experience that you had with them thus far. But I can also um, agree that there are certain hotel clients that I've worked with that I would no longer work with because of similar issues. And unfortunately, that is the nature of the game. We have to be very protective of anything that's all our intellectual property, and
Yes.
but also know when to walk away, also know when it's not the right fit, because we don't need to have toxic clients either.
No, no. And I don't mean to say that it's the hotel. I mean, because I don't feel like this is the hotel brand, the way it represents itself. It's just the individual people that you find yourself that you'll be working with day to day.
Hmm.
But the two biggest takeaways from this experience is it's okay to walk away. Not every contract is going to be for you. And B, don't lift a single finger without your signed contract.
Yes. I concur. And the good news is that you actually have a contract template inside the Hotel Florist Profit Method that you can take away, have someone review, make sure that it fits your business requirements. It's a lot more affordable to have a lawyer look at a contract versus drafting one from scratch. But contract is key before you are committing any time, any money into this relationship.
Yes, because we are about 4,000 deep,
Oh,
you know, and that's okay because I think the lesson learned is bigger than, the price tag on it. Um, but obviously now we know that that will never happen again.
it's an investment in yourself of a lesson learned. And
Yes.
I love the mindset you have around this. And I love also this episode, how honest and real and transparent it is, that even though some may feel like, having a hotel client is kind of like the new shiny object syndrome, or like the new like it thing to do, not all hotel contracts are going to fill an alignment for you or your business, and that is okay. And that's very important to know now before investing any time or money into a possible relationship that actually won't work out in the end. What would you say, just on this topic, would be your best advice for creating a strong and long-term partnership between the hotel and the florist? So let's take your other hotel account. What do you feel like has been your best, what would be your best advice for creating that strong and long-term partnership?
I think it's something that I learned in the course. Actually, I know it's something that I learned in the course, and that is, how do you make their life easier? Because even that other hotel was shaky at times when they switched over, under new management. And every time anything has ever come under question with the new management, the one thing that has always smoothed things over is that they know that I'm always there to make things easier for them, and that I'm always willing to go above and beyond to be there for them so that they have less stress.
And
So
I love that you bring that up, because it's such like a quote unquote simple thing. Like, it's not some deep, dark secret or something you're going to have to spend a lot of time learning a new skill. It is literally like, how can I make your job, your life easier? Because in the hospitality industry, something that if you're not familiar with the hospitality industry, you probably wouldn't even think of, but this is a business that is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It is not uncommon for people to work multiple holidays, long shifts, double shifts from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Management is literally working 60, 80 hours a week just so that they can climb the corporate ladder. This is like their career, and their career is to serve and help other people. But I'm always telling, people in the Hotel Florist Profit Method, and just like in general, I've probably heard on this podcast before, or anything I really put out there, is like, who's taking care of them?
yeah,
and the moment
exactly.
that you come from a place of service with these people, these potential clients, you will already stand out above and beyond your competition, because you're coming from a place of service versus a place of sales.
Exactly.
So now I have to ask, because we've talked about your journey, how you have acquired hotel partnerships, how you've landed hotel partnerships. Why do you believe that flowers in the hotel lobby are so important?
I think it's the number one thing that sets the ambiance and tone of the hotel. It gives people a sense of warmth. And if people feel more settled and they feel that warmth, they're going to enjoy their time at the hotel, and that's going to result into revenue for the hotel. And so basically, we want to not what's the word? I'm sorry. We want to maximize their guest experience as much as possible. And so when they walk into the hotel, the first thing that they're really going to see is the lobby flowers. And so we just want to just maximize that experience. We don't want them to see just an orchid pot on a table. We want something that's going to make them say, wow, I'm at the so-and-so, this looks amazing.
Or let me pull out my phone and tell everyone on social media, all the people on the internet, where I am.
Yes. And just something that, just kind of excites their senses. And Floral is an easy way to really take that very far. And again, I mean, if they're enjoying themselves at the hotel, it's going to result in more revenue for the hotel.
And I think now that people are listening to this and they can kind of see the correlation between what you're doing, what your business is providing to help this business succeed, it almost feels like it is a win-win situation.
It is.
Because like the hotels that I work for, I know that they can charge higher room nights than if they didn't have fresh flowers in the lobby. So they're making an investment in their guests as well. So that's something to never forget. Now that you've been a founding member of the Hotel Florist Profit Method, what has been your favorite part about the course when it comes to design? Do you feel that you have been kind of, some of the people that have inquired about the course in the past, they're nervous that they don't have the same style as I would design, or they're worried that they might not learn enough mechanics or get enough ideas or know what flowers to design with if they were to land a contract. You've been in the course, you've looked at it from front to back. How do you feel when it comes to the design modules?
I think the design modules hold your hand and give you all the information that you possibly need. So I came from a strictly event design background. I knew nothing about really the mechanics and the building and the best flowers for hotels. But now I feel like I'm an expert.
And it's pretty simple. Like, I feel like the past few weeks I've been doing these behind the scenes where I've been installing, and we just use Monstera leaves. And even one of my own florists was deconstructing all the mechanics, and she was just like, wow, this is genius. I would have never thought of this. And it's like the simplest mechanics for the biggest impact.
Yes, that's what I would say. You don't need a difficult design. I think the modules have taught us you take the most, basic thing, but you maximize it. And that's going to A, maximize the design, and B, maximize what stays in your pocket, because you don't have to go out and buy 100 Phalaenopsis orchids for dramatic impact.
Yes, yes. And I had a guest on, the founder of Curate, and he used this quote, creativity comes from constraint. And it couldn't be a more perfect quote for 2020, but especially now, even though we're in 2021, the crisis that's going on in the floral industry, as far as product being available, the price for product, contracts that were signed back in 2020 before we knew there was going to be weather issues. I want to say riots, but that's not the right word. What's the word? Protest. Thank you. Like, we didn't know that all these things were going to happen. So as we're trying to get on our feet, as we're trying to find the right people to hire back on, our price for flowers have, tripled, quadrupled. We have to get really creative. And I know myself, the past month, I've literally been rotating through Phalaenopsis orchids, and you'll see this in the course. I think it's like 4 weeks of, and this wasn't my plan whatsoever, but every week I would go to order new flowers. I'd be like, well, they don't have the budget for that. So how can I repurpose what they already have? And it's literally, I bought 11 white double stem potted Phalaenopsis orchids from a local orchid supplier about 4 weeks ago. And I've been rotating using different techniques and styles and vases, and some with leaves and some with not leaves, but every week it looks completely different and fresh.
I saw that.
And now it's become a game, and it's like, how long can we use these orchids?
Yeah, I love that, because it's just taking a look and it's reinventing it to be different each time.
Yeah. And it's amazing. It's amazing how much you can change the design, just literally changing out the vases. Or, putting moss in a clear vase one week and taking the moss out the next week. Right now, so far we've rotated through white to clear to now we're into black. I just ordered a lot of different tropical greens, and we're going to do a whole tropical theme next week. I think after that, I'll probably have to retire the Phalaenopsis orchid. But they're still going strong. And it's like, literally, you can use them planted for 2 to 3 weeks, and then you can use them cut for 2 more weeks. And you're able to maximize your budget. You're able to still bring home your profit. You're not compromising on what the hotel is expecting. They still want the grandiose 15-foot design. And everybody wins. And I think that's the most important thing I want to drive home with the design modules is, you are already an incredible designer. You are here because you love flowers, because you enjoy designing a certain way. The modules are simply, like you said, to hold your hand and just guide you. It's like the training wheels. And after a while, you're going to say, you know what, I don't like this, or I would prefer if I did it this way. And then you do it that way. It's literally just to get you started. Yep.
But it gives you a really, really, really strong foundation for getting started.
I like to think so as well, but it's good to hear it from your point of view, because, you've been in your hotels, firsthand, you were designing for a pre-opening. That is huge. And if anything, you're able to take inspiration and ideas away from it, as well as like other mechanics and maybe things you hadn't thought of in the past. So that makes me so happy to hear.
Good.
Now that we know why hotel flowers are so important, can you just share with me what your favorite flower is to design with?
It is the mocha phalaenopsis orchid.
Wow.
Because
I like how specific you are.
It's got to be the mocha. And I just feel like you don't even need a lot. You just need one in an arrangement and it goes so far.
I'm going to have to implement this now.
It's just a pop.
I love it. I'm going to tell everyone it's the Dimyena look.
I like that term.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being in the course. Is there anything that you want to leave off with? Maybe you can talk a little bit about your experience, what you're doing now. The floor is yours.
Oh gosh. That's a big question. Do you have about an hour?
Sure. I have all the time in the world for you.
I mean, like I said earlier, what we were doing now is we're basically just rebuilding the business model to be based off of reoccurring revenue and those contracts, because we want to know that at 5 or 6 o'clock we get to go home, and that if we're not going to stay till midnight to build an event. So everything that we do now is just working on how to be more appealing to those hotels and how to get in front of them. But thankfully we have those modules to help us.
On that note, I also wanted to bring up something that you have found to be really helpful, and it's also the attention to detail. So I know you can personalize a lot of things that you do, and I know that one of your hotel clients finds a lot of value in that. Mm-hmm. So if there's a florist listening to this that really wants to start pitching, that wants to kind of figure out how to sell themselves, what's their unique selling point, personalization, yes, I think has been key to your success in building that strong relationship with the hotel as well. But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, one hotel just went nuts when there was just a simple little logo in their arrangement. And, it became so personable. It became an arrangement that was specifically for their hotel, I
love it. I love it. Well, I've loved working with you. Thank you so much for being
here.
On the show
Thank you, Francesca.
Today. And yeah, I can't wait to see you back in the course.
Thanks.